here. Like, you know, the stats being tied to this and all that don't really help. I mean, you'd almost just rather have a cheaper card that does a similar sort of thing. I mean, frankly, just often running a Fan of Knives might just feel way better than trying to squeeze in an Oppu, because it is just a cheaper, more flexible way that can be played much earlier, weaved into turns more easily, set up other combo plays. I think just playing a Fan of Knives over this is going to happen in many cases, particularly when you look at that combo for Oppu. Like, comboing a 6-cost card is even more difficult. Clearly, there are ways to discount it and play 0-cost cards in Rogue. It's not impossible. I'm not really holding that against it. It's just that, you know, it often could push this back even further. And it's certainly not something that like sets up other combos very effectively. Whereas a card like Fan of Knives does do the same thing, just in smaller chunks. So does the bundling of all of this together, you know, getting 3 for 1 card slot, is that worth it? I think some classes would really value that bundling more. Something like a Druid that has a lot more mana to spend, goes deeper like that, you know, could probably utilize this really well. But I fear for Rogue, I just don't think this is the direction that Rogue normally goes. I don't think it's a terrible card, because it does ultimately just do a lot. Maybe a more mid-rangey Rogue build could squeeze this in, but I think it would feel like a card that's at the bottom of your list, not only from a mana cost standpoint, literally, but also just, you know, like it's the 30th card you put in the deck while you're trying to fill it out. And that's probably not a super high tier archetype or game plan either, because I just don't think this feeds enough into synergies. We are going to see some cards in this video that encourage you to draw a lot of cards. I just don't think this is the way that rogues are going to choose to do that all that often. So that said, let's go ahead and jump here into the Rogue quest. We talk about wanting to draw some cards. This is Lie in Wait, 1-mana legendary spell, starts in hand, as all quests are. And the quest is to shuffle cards into your deck 5 times. And then your reward is Master Dusk, which interestingly is a hero card, which is very cool. Master Dusk is a 5-cost hero card, 5 armor, battle cry, summon 2 3/3 ninjas with stealth. Your ninjas now shuffle back into your deck when they die. So you're basically adding this endless supply of ninja turtles. Amazing. That are always 3/3s with stealth. So these like probably kind of annoying boards that just keep coming back and back and back. And some AoEs will deal with those boards effectively, but there will be other scenarios where those 3/3s are hard to deal with and maybe just get to hit face fairly often if you want them to, because, you know, the opponent just runs out of ways to deal with that behind stealth because they have like single target removal or rush minions or whatever, and they just can't clean them up. And then the hero power here, as you see, is Way of the Shell, a 1-cost hero power. Draw 2 cards that didn't start in your deck. So this is very often going to be a way to just immediately summon 2 3/3s with stealth. This kind of just says, hey, 1 mana, summon 2 3/3s with stealth. Of course, there are other things you can shuffle into your deck, things like asteroids, for instance, which we're definitely going to talk about in the context of all of this shuffle stuff. So I do find this hero power, or this hero card, fairly interesting. I think at 5 mana, it's just cheap enough to feel like the 2 3/3s right away aren't a huge sacrifice, and it does offer a lot of potential upside for later, because we're going to see more ways to shuffle ninjas into your deck. It's not just going to be these 2 to start. I guess for context, real quickly, we also have Interrogation. That shuffles 3 of these ninjas into your deck. And remember too, like, you're not losing these once you've played the hero card. They are going to just infinitely be there because they're getting shuffled back into your deck. So that's like 6 more total ninjas. You've also got Merchant of Legend here, which is going to shuffle some legendaries into your deck. So not ninjas this time around, but still other cards that didn't start in your deck, which might be nice things to draw off of the hero power. Also, just for context, a couple other cards that benefit from shuffling to kind of fill out a deck here. You've got Knockback that gets bigger damage to minions as you've shuffled stuff, and Underbrush Tracker, which gets cheaper as you've shuffled stuff into your deck. Now, I want to be very careful about some of the wording here on the quest and cards here, like the Underbrush Tracker. This does not say for each card you've shuffled into your deck. That's a very important distinction. All of these, including the quest itself, say the number of times you've shuffled into your deck. So it's going to have to be distinct different cards basically in order to satisfy this quest condition. You know, just looking at the shuffle pool that already exists for Rogue, you know, we have a card like Agency Espionage here. This shuffles a card from each other class into your deck. That is 10 cards, right? Normally, this would obviously instantly activate the quest if it were based on the number of cards, but it's not. Agency Espionage, as I read this, is just going to be 1 tick up on your quest. It's not going to be 10. So there's not a way to like instantly cheese this. You know, again, Merchant of Legend, this new card we're going to talk about in a minute, as we just saw, this is 1 instance of your quest. So, you know, not super easy to cheat this out, but do, you know, keep in mind Shadow Step exists. So, you know, all these minions in particular like this, that shuffle stuff into your deck, you just Shadow Step that and like boom, you know, that's already 2 hits on the quest. And I think there will be a lot of instances, frankly, where rogues complete this quest in time to play Master Dusk on turn 5. I think with Shadow Step's help in particular, it's just going to happen where this gets done on turn 5. We saw a 2-mana spell, we saw a 1-cost minion. Already you have a curve there that gets you to 5 times, I think, fairly reliably with Master Dusk, particularly in combination with like preps. The crazy cheat we see in Rogue is possible. That won't happen every game just because, you know, like what you draw and how things line up. Obviously, there will be scenarios where it doesn't happen every game. But I think there will be enough games where Master Dusk comes down on turn 5 that it is actually a compelling reward. The 3/3s aren't super impactful quite right away on turn 5. But if you've still been doing a decent job of getting stuff out, maybe hitting a ninja ahead of time on that 2-cost spell here or there, like whatever it is, right? Still keeping a little tempo going. I think there could be a scenario where basically starting on turn 5 and every turn thereafter, you basically get like 2 to 3 free ninjas on board. And because they have stealth and that makes them somewhat difficult to interact with, that probably means you're going to have boards that are dealing like 6 to 9 damage every turn, starting from turn 5 thereafter. There is another angle to go with this as well, because ninjas are not the only things that you can shuffle. You also have stuff like Moonstone Mauler, which, as we've seen, can already work really well in Rogue. And in particular, you know, this is another obvious Shadow Step target, bounce target. Doesn't have to be Shadow Step, but any bounce target as well. So this could be another way to just instantly start incrementing your quest. And then you kind of have a twofold front, right? You have asteroids that are chipping away at your opponent, sometimes face, sometimes board. You also have the stealth ninjas as well, both of which I think probably give you this cool kind of mid to late game inevitability from a chip damage standpoint, where eventually that just overwhelms the opponent. Obviously there will be decks that stabilize against that, but I do think this is going to come in just fast enough to make that an actual viable win condition. If this card costs 6, if the support pieces weren't there, if Shadow Step didn't exist, I don't really think this would come together in a compelling way. I think it would just be a little too slow. But I do foresee Rogue in particular is just the perfect class for this cheese, you know, to get this done rather rapidly. And I think 2 can just pivot it into an actual win condition, which I'm not sure every other deck can do either. So in other words, I think the quest here is actually a pretty good card for Rogue, as are most of these other cards as we talked about. So Interrogation is that 2-cost spell, shuffles 3 ninjas with stealth into your deck that are summoned when drawn, which, you know, in and of itself, I probably wouldn't see this card getting run too often, you know, without some way to specifically tutor these out, which of course the quest is going to provide. But outside of the quest environment, I don't think this would be there. I don't think the return would be quick enough. You know, we see a similar card with the illusionist dragon, whose name I can't remember for whatever reason. The illusory green wing, which God knows we've seen this card 1,000 times. I should know the name. But you know, like this is a similar idea, right? Like shuffle stuff into the deck, and you know, this one's very good. Like this gets played a ton.